Chosen one, stop. Read this slowly. There is a reason your eyes opened on this paragraph in this hour and not another. The Father has spoken to you twice before. Once in a moment you called anxiety. Once in a sign you called coincidence. And now he is speaking the third time. And the third time is the one he has been holding the longest. This is not punishment. This is not warning in the way the world taught you to be afraid. This is a letter he could not deliver until the room around you was quiet enough. You did not arrive here by random. You were directed. Every small choice that almost pulled you somewhere else was moved aside. Every voice that almost reached you first was held back. The third mercy does not arrive as fire. It arrives as a voice that finally reaches the one it was always meant for. So, stay. Do not turn the page on this one. The first two letters were not lost. They were foundation. And what is being delivered into your hands tonight is the one your whole life has been waiting to hear. The Father is not finished with you. He is only beginning. I see you. I have always seen you. Stay. Before we go deeper, I want you to know one thing. Everything in this message is free. There is no payment for what I am about to share. If at any moment in this hour your spirit tells you something more is needed for you tonight, the door is in the description and pinned comment below. Only walk through it if you feel led, never before. And before I go any further, let me tell you what is waiting for you if you stay to the end of this. I am going to name the two warnings that already came to you, not as a guess, but with the exact shape they took in your life. I am going to show you why the Father warns in threes, and what the third one specifically means for the next 90 days of your year. I am going to give you 3 markers to recognize a divine signal, apart from anxiety, apart from coincidence. 3 clear markers you can use starting tonight. And I am going to close this hour with a declaration I believe will stay with you long after the message ends. None of this is hype. All of it is the message I have been carrying toward the one watching tonight. So, stay. The third letter is worth the time. Now I want to start with something you have been taught wrong. Most people have been told that a warning from God is a kind of anger. Most people have been taught that when the Spirit speaks loud, it must mean something is wrong with you. Most people are afraid of the word warning because they grew up in rooms where warning meant punishment was already on the way. But that is not what the word means in heaven. A warning from the Father is not the sound of a sword being drawn. It is the sound of a hand reaching across the room toward someone he does not want to lose. The world taught you to flinch at the word. The Father uses the word the way a parent uses it at night. When a child is walking too close to something dangerous and the parent says, "Gently, slow down." There is no anger in that voice. There is only love that refuses to let the child go further alone. So before I tell you what the 2 warnings were, you have to let the old meaning of the word fall away. What you have been afraid of was never the thing being sent to you. The thing being sent to you was the one who saw you walking too close to the edge and chose to speak. There is an old story you may have heard, but I want you to hear it again with new ears tonight. There was a city called Nineveh. The city was running out of time. The people had been living the way people live when they think no one is watching, and the consequence of that life was about to find them. And the Father, instead of letting the consequence arrive in silence, sent a man named Jonah to stand at the gate of the city at the end of the day, when the sun was low and the streets were starting to quiet, and to say one sentence to the people: 40 days. That was the whole warning. 40 days, and the city would fall. Now here is what most people miss when they hear that story. The Father did not have to send Jonah. He could have let the 40 days run out in silence. He could have let the city find its own ending. But he sent a warning, and the warning itself was the mercy. The warning meant the city still had time. The warning meant the door was still open. And the people of Nineveh, when they heard it, did not interpret it as anger. They interpreted it as love, arriving late, but arriving anyway. And the city was saved. That is what a divine warning is. It is the mercy that arrives before the consequence does. And tonight, you are Nineveh. There is one more thing I want to plant here before we go further, because it will matter in a few minutes. There is a researcher named Dr. Robert Lake, who has spent more than 3 decades mapping something most people have never heard of. He has been studying the question of why some people seem to hear divine signals clearly while other people miss them every time. His work is not a single product. It is a sequence. He has mapped a whole arc of restoration with research that has names very few people outside his circle know. Names like the youthful brain studies and the decline effect protocols that came out of his decades of work. What you are about to learn tonight is only the first piece of his system. The rest will reveal itself when you are ready. For now, hold that thought, because the next thing I am going to do is the part you came here for. I am going to name the 2 warnings, the first one, the second one, and then the third, which is the one happening to you right now, in this hour, in this exact sentence. Listen, most chosen ones experienced the first warning of this kind months ago, sometimes years ago. It was soft, it was quiet. The world was loud, and the warning was not. You almost did not hear it. And when you did hear it, you did not call it what it was. You called it something else. Let me name the 2 shapes it most often took. The first shape of the first warning was a slow detachment from routines that used to feel like home. There came a season in your life when the things you used to love started to feel hollow. The shows you used to watch began to bore you in the middle. The conversations you used to enjoy started to leave you tired instead of full. The hobbies you spent years building suddenly felt small. Nothing changed about them. Something changed in you. You called it burnout. You called it a phase. You called it depression. This is not depression. This is the spirit clearing the table for what is coming next. The Father does not place new things in a full room. He empties the room first. And what felt like loss of interest was the first warning that something larger was about to enter the space. The second shape of the first warning came as a repeating pattern of timing you could not explain. You would look at the clock at the same time several days in a row. The same number kept finding you on receipts, on license plates, on the corner of the screen when you opened your phone for no reason. A song you had not heard in years would play in 2 different stores in the same week. A name you had not thought about would appear in 3 unrelated conversations in 3 days. You called it coincidence. You called it the brain seeing patterns where none existed. This is not coincidence. This is correspondence. This is the spirit using the only language the natural world will allow, which is the language of repeated timing. The Father had something to say, and he was knocking through the only door he could find. The second warning came louder, and most of you can place when it arrived. It was more recent, closer to now, maybe in the last few months, maybe in the last few weeks. It came in 2 forms, and most of you experienced both. The first shape of the second warning was a season of emotional waves with no external cause. There would be a morning where you woke up at peace for no reason. By noon, you would feel quiet sadness that no event had triggered. By evening, hope would return without explanation. You would move through 3 or 4 emotional states in a single day, and none of them lined up with anything happening in your actual life. You called it hormones. You called it instability. You called it being overly sensitive. This is not instability. This is the spirit clearing emotional residue. The Father was draining old water out of the well so that new water could come in clean. And every wave you felt was not your weakness. It was the well being made ready. The second shape of the second warning came as flashes of knowing that arrived before the event did. You would think of a person you had not spoken to in years, and within a day they would reach out. You would walk into a room and know immediately that the conversation about to happen would matter, and it did. You would wake at the same hour in the night, sometimes 2 or 3 nights in a row, with a single thought in your head that you could not silence. You called it luck. You called it overthinking. You called it a coincidence again. This is not luck. This is reception. This is what happens when the spirit-sensitive part of you starts coming back online and the signals that were always being sent finally get through. The second warning was the Father telling you the door was opening from the inside and that you were about to start hearing things you had spent your whole life unable to hear. And now the third has arrived. The third is happening right now, in this moment, while you read this. Look at how quiet this hour has been. Notice how the world stopped pulling on you long enough for you to stay on this page for more than 10 minutes, which is not how you usually scroll. Notice how the pull on your attention has been steadier than usual. This is the third warning. The unusual stillness of this exact hour is the sign. The fact that you stayed past the first 3 minutes when usually you would have moved on is the sign. The fact that something in you is settling instead of resisting is the sign. This is not luck. This is arrival. The third warning is not a future event you are waiting for. It is the conversation you are inside of, right now. Now I want to tell you something that very few chosen ones ever realize. The first warning and the second warning were not two separate events. They were one sequence. The first warning emptied the room. The second warning prepared the ground. And every sign in both warnings was pointing forward to one specific moment, which is the moment you are in now. The Father has been working in your life for longer than you realize, and the architecture of what he was doing only becomes clear when you look at it from this side of the third arrival. The two warnings were preparation. They were the soil being broken before the seed. They were the table being cleared before the meal. They were the long pause before the sentence that actually matters. And here is what was being stripped away in both warnings, slowly, gently, and over time. Whatever version of you was performing for love, that version had to go. Whatever identity you had built around being needed, being useful, being the strong one for everyone else, that identity had to soften. Whatever story you had told yourself about why you were behind, why you had been forgotten, why the divine attention was on other people but not on you, that story had to die in 2 layers before the third layer of truth could reach you. You did not feel it happening as preparation. You felt it happening as loss. But what felt like loss was actually grace working slowly, the way it always works. And tonight, the work of the first 2 warnings is complete. The ground is ready. The room is clean. The version of you that needed to leave has already gone. Which brings us to the part of this message I have been waiting to deliver. Because the moment you understand what the Father was actually doing in those 2 warnings, you understand that the word warning was never the right word for any of it. There is a different word in the original Hebrew, a word that recontextualizes everything you have been carrying for the last 2 years, and I am about to give it to you. But before I do, there is something else I need to mention. What we just walked through about the brain becoming sensitive enough to recognize these signals correctly has a tool behind it that I want you to know exists. Dr. Robert Lake, after more than 3 decades of research, found something specific about why most adults cannot hear the first 2 warnings clearly. He found that a particular brainwave, the one responsible for pattern recognition and the intuitive flashes I just described, has been suppressed in most people since childhood, and he engineered something to bring it back online. He called it the Genius Song. It is a 7-minute audio track listened to through headphones that reactivates that specific brainwave using technology mapped at MIT and Princeton and several other leading research universities. If your spirit is already telling you this is the bridge between the first 2 warnings and the third one happening now, the door is in the description below. Stay with me through the rest of this message if you want the full picture, but for some of you, you already know what to do. For everyone staying, what comes next is the part I have been holding for this whole hour. The reframe that changes how you read everything before. The twist is here. Now, stay with me. Because the next thing I say is the thing the whole message has been building toward. Are you ready? Here it is. The warnings were never warnings in the way you have been using that word. They were not threats. They were not corrections. They were not the Father raising his voice at someone who had wandered off. They were attempts. The first attempt was him trying to deliver a single letter. The second attempt was him trying to deliver the same letter. And tonight, with the third attempt, he has finally found the quiet hour he has been looking for in order to place that letter into your hands. Everything you have been calling warning has been one thing the whole time, one letter, reaching 3 times, to one person, to you. And here is the word that the world has been mistranslating for centuries. In the Hebrew scriptures, the word the Father uses for what you have been calling warning is not warning at all. The word is chesed, spelled C-H-E-S-E-D. Most translations soften it into mercy or loving kindness, but neither of those is strong enough. Chesed is something else. Chesed is covenant loyalty. It is a kind of love that refuses to stop reaching, no matter how many times the message is missed. It is not pity. It is not a one-time forgiveness. It is something more stubborn than either of those. Chesed is the Father saying, I made a promise about this one, and I will reach until reaching is done. And what you have been carrying this whole time as warning has been chesed, persistent, patient, loyal. The first 2 attempts were chesed reaching. This third one is chesed arriving. So, let me say this clearly, in 5 different ways, so that you cannot miss it. What you called anxiety was chesed in disguise. What you called coincidence was chesed in motion. What you called your worst season was chesed taking root. What you called silence from God was chesed waiting for the right hour. And what you called too late was chesed proving you wrong. There is no version of your life in which you were unloved. There is no chapter in which you were forgotten. There is no silence that was actually silence. The Father has been speaking the whole time. Tonight is just the first time the room got quiet enough for you to hear him. And I hear the Father saying to you, right now, in this room you are sitting in, the following words. I never stopped speaking. You stopped translating. The first letter was me. The second letter was me. And tonight, I am no longer sending the letter. I am here in the room with it. I have been here the whole time. You did not arrive at this hour. The hour arrived at you. Because I arranged it. And I have arranged what comes next. Now stay with me. Because before I can show you what the third chesed actually means for the next 90 days of your life, and I will show you, there is one more piece I need you to see first. It is the piece that changes the meaning of everything you have been carrying. Listen closely. When chesed arrives in a life, the Father's posture toward that life shifts completely. Warning posture would mean prepare for impact. Brace, tighten, hold on. Chesed posture means something entirely different. Chesed posture means prepare for arrival. Open, soften, make room. The first posture is the body of someone expecting hardship. The second is the body of someone expecting a guest. Tonight, you are not preparing for impact. You are preparing for arrival. And the arrival will look like 3 specific reorganizations in your life, which I am about to walk you through in just a moment. But before I do, I want to remind you of someone. Peter heard the rooster 3 times. He had failed. He had denied. He had hidden. But the third sound of the rooster was not the end of his story. It was the doorway to his restoration. The Father met him on a beach later, asked him the same question 3 times, and gave him 3 commissions back. 3 for 3. The pattern of 3 in heaven is never the ending. It is always the doorway. Before I show you the specific architecture of what reorganizes in your life when chesed arrives, I need to ground you. Because chesed arriving requires you to be in a particular state to receive it, and I want to make sure you are in it right now. So let me pause and bring everything back to plain language for the next 90 seconds. I want you to leave this section knowing exactly what we have covered, in case the emotional weight of everything before has pulled you off the ground. Here is the why. You have been receiving signals from the Father for years. The signals were not punishment. They were a specific kind of love called chesed, which keeps reaching no matter how many times the message is missed. The first two attempts were missed because the world around you was too loud and your brain was too tired to translate them. This third attempt is happening right now because the room finally got quiet enough. Here is the what. You can stop interpreting hard moments as evidence of being unloved. They were not that. You can practice discernment going forward with 3 clear markers. The first marker is timing that is too precise to be random. The second marker is a feeling that returns to you more than 3 times in different forms. The third marker is an emotional signature that is neither anxiety nor desire, but something quieter than both. When you notice one of those markers, do not react. Pause. Wait for the pattern to confirm itself. Step only after the third repetition. Here is the who. This is not for the casual viewer. This is for the chosen one who has been carrying a question nobody could answer. This is for the one who suspected they were chosen, but could not name what they were chosen for. The Father has just told you. You were chosen to be loved persistently. The third letter is in your hands now. And what comes next is the tool the Father has been making available for exactly this kind of hour. Remember earlier when I mentioned the Genius song? That was the first piece. Let me walk you through exactly what it is. For more than 34 years, Dr. Robert Lake has been mapping one question. Why can some people hear divine signals clearly while most cannot? With teams at MIT, at Princeton, and several other leading research universities, he found the answer is in a brainwave called gamma. Gamma is the frequency the brain operates in when it recognizes patterns, when intuitive flashes happen, and when subtle signals reach awareness. Children have gamma in abundance. The modern world, starting around the age of 7, suppresses it. Researchers call this the decline effect. By the time you are an adult, your gamma is operating at a fraction of what it was meant to be, which is exactly why the first 2 warnings were so hard to translate. The reason you have always felt different, the reason you have always sensed signals other people missed, is because your gamma was always trying to come back online. You were born with full gamma, like every chosen one. The world dimmed it, but it never died in you. It has been waiting underneath every dismissal and every doubt for the moment it could be reactivated. Let me tell you about a woman in her late 30s who spent nearly 8 years going through every spiritual modality she could find. Meditation, yoga, retreats, books. She felt the door of her gift. She knew it existed, but she could not walk through it no matter how hard she tried. A friend mentioned the Genius song. She bought it because, in her words, she had nothing left to lose. Within 2 weeks, something specific shifted. The language she had been hearing in fragments for years became a sentence. The signals that used to feel like static suddenly carried meaning. She is one of 18,366 chosen ones who have used this audio. Fewer than 4 out of every 100 have asked for their money back. The rest are still in the room with it months and months later. Now I know some of you are already asking the questions. The first question is, can a 7-minute audio actually do anything? The answer is yes. Gamma is measurable on an EEG. This is not faith. This is engineering. The second question is, I have already tried meditation. What makes this different? The answer is, meditation builds discipline. This builds the channel. Different mechanism, different result. And I know the price is the real question. Let me answer it directly. Most of the tools people consider for this kind of work are not cheap. A meditation app subscription runs about $15 every month, forever. An online mindfulness course costs between $100 and $200. A weekend spiritual retreat runs $400 to $800. A single therapy session averages around $150. And biofeedback therapy at a clinic runs about $300 per session over many weeks of visits. None of them target gamma specifically. The Genius song, originally priced at $49 by Dr. Lake, has been reduced to $39 for viewers of this message. One time, not a subscription, not on Amazon, not anywhere else. It comes with 4 bonuses. A second audio designed for children called Genius Child, valued at $19. The original book that inspired The Secret, valued at $20. A 22-minute guided visualization through 4 areas of life, valued at $29. And a printable 5-habit infographic, valued at $12. $80 in bonuses, free with the $39 purchase. If it does not work for you within 90 days, every dollar returns to your account, and you keep all 4 bonuses. Now, something honest about timing. Every day that Gamma stays dim is another day a divine signal lands in your life, and your brain cannot read it. The 4th letter is already being written. The version of you on the other side of this decision is looking back at this exact moment. They do not need the decision to be perfect. They need it to be made. The first step is small. That is all this is. One thing before you search anywhere else. The Genius song is not on Amazon, not on Spotify. There are imitations that will appear if you search for it. The only place the original lives is at the link in the description and pinned comment below. If your spirit confirms this is the bridge, the door is below. Only walk if you feel led. And here is one more thing for those of you walking through. What you are receiving tonight is only the first phase of a sequence Dr. Lake mapped over decades. Every chosen one begins here. The sequence cannot be skipped. Gamma must stabilize before the next phase reveals itself. The system recognizes readiness. The next door opens only when the first one is fully walked. For tonight, the only thing that matters is the first door. The embrace your destiny has been writing toward is on the other side of it. Now let me show you what reorganizes in your life when Chesed arrives. 3 things will shift, and I want you ready for all of them. The first shift is in your relationships. For those entering this season, certain people you thought would always be in your life will quietly move into the background. Certain people you have never met yet will appear and feel familiar within minutes of meeting them. You will feel loss and relief at the same time, sometimes in the same conversation. Do not chase what is leaving. Do not force what is already over. Trust that the right people speak your language without needing translation, and the ones who fit will arrive without you doing anything to summon them. The second shift is in your calling. For those entering this season, what you thought was your purpose will clarify, not change. The version of your calling that was built around survival will fall away. The version of your calling that was built around proving something to people who never paid attention will lose its grip. You will feel urgency without anxiety, which is a new sensation for some of you. Do not burn what is already aligned just because the shift feels uncomfortable. Trust that the door that opens easily, with rhythm and timing, is the door that was written for you. The third shift is in your provision. For those entering this season, resources are going to arrive through channels that look unfamiliar. Money will come from an unexpected place. An opportunity will appear that does not fit your usual category. Help will arrive from someone you barely know. You will feel confusion before clarity, and that is normal. Do not reject the unusual source just because it is unusual. Trust that Chesed sustains itself. The Father does not provide the way the world provides. He provides the way a father provides for a child who has finally come home. And let me tell you about a woman in her late 40s who wrote me about something that happened to her recently. She had dismissed 2 signs over the course of a year. A synchronicity she called luck, an intuition she called overthinking. The third sign came as a single sentence she heard at a moment too specific to ignore. She wept for an hour. Then she stood up. 6 weeks later, 3 things in her life had reorganized themselves without her forcing any of them. A relationship she had been holding too tightly let go on its own. A door at work she had not seen opened, and money arrived from a place she had not expected. She told me one line that has stayed with me. I was not chosen at the third sign. I was chosen all along. The third sign was the door. She did not chase the chesed, she let it find her. And the Father says, I have already arranged the people. I have already arranged the door. I have already arranged the resources. I have written every part of what is coming, and your only assignment is to walk in chesed trust, not chesed fear. The first two letters made you ready. This third letter is the beginning of everything I have been holding for you. Now I want you to do something with me, right where you are. You do not need to get up. You do not need to find a quiet place, just where you are. If your eyes can soften or close for a moment, let them. If not, just let your gaze go a little blurry on the screen. Now imagine in front of you a door. It is the third door. The first two doors are behind you, and they are closed, not against you, but because you no longer need them. This third door is open. The Father is on the other side. He is not waiting impatiently. He is just there, present, looking at you the way he has always looked at you, with chesed that does not flinch. Notice the stillness around you right now. That stillness is part of what is being delivered to you tonight. It is not an accident. It is the carrier of the letter. Stay there for one more moment. The door is open. And now, before this message ends, I want to honor what just happened in this hour. What you came in carrying is not what you are leaving with. The two warnings you used to interpret as failure are now your foundation. The seasons you used to interpret as silence are now your evidence. You walked in here unsure if you had been seen. You are walking out knowing you were never not seen. Picture, just for a moment, the two old interpretations in your hands. The one that called the first sign anxiety, the one that called the second sign coincidence. They served you to get you here. They are not yours to carry forward. In your imagination, open your hands. Let them fall. They are returning to the dust they were always made of. You do not need them anymore. The third letter has arrived, and the Father sees every weight you carried in the 2 seasons before this one. He saw the prayers without answers. He saw the questions you did not voice. He saw every moment you almost gave up and chose to stay one more day. None of it was unseen. So I declare over you tonight, chosen one, in the name of the Father whose chesed has reached you 3 times now, and I hear him saying, directly, to the one watching this, I see you, I have always seen you. The first letter was mine. The second letter was mine. The third one is mine, and so are you. I am not finished. I am only beginning. Walk forward. The door is open. And whatever happens next, you go with Hesed at your back and Hesed in front of you. You will not walk alone. You never have. The reorganization is already in motion. Receive it. You were made for this hour, and this hour was made for you. It is sealed. The third has arrived. There is nothing left to receive tonight. There is only walking. Go in Chesed, chosen one. The first letter is closed. The second letter is closed. And the third letter has been read. You are not the only chosen one who received this tonight. Across the world, others are reading this same letter right now. Share this with the one in your life who has been carrying signs they cannot translate. The one who has been waiting for a letter and did not know it was already on the way. They will know it is for them. If you received the third Chesed tonight, type the words, "It is sealed" below. And the door I mentioned earlier remains in the description and pinned comment. Walk through it only if your spirit confirms.